The world watches with bated breath as trade tensions escalate between China and Canada, two major players in the global economy. The stakes are high, and the implications could be far-reaching, affecting not just the two nations involved, but also the broader international community. In a move that sent shockwaves through global markets, China recently announced the imposition of a 100% tariff on select Canadian imports. This decision has caused significant turmoil in financial markets, with stock prices plummeting and investors scrambling to reassess their strategies. This drastic measure signifies a new low in the ongoing trade dispute between the two countries. The conflict has been brewing for months, with both sides engaging in a series of retaliatory actions that have only served to deepen the divide. The situation highlights the increasing trend of protectionism and the fragility of the global trading system. As countries turn inward to protect their own industries, the interconnected web of international trade becomes more vulnerable to disruptions. This essay will delve into the reasons behind China's decision, the specific sectors targeted, and the potential ramifications for both economies. We will examine how industries such as agriculture, technology, and manufacturing are being affected, and what this means for the future of trade between these two nations. We will explore the broader context of global trade tensions, including the role of the United States. As a major economic power, the U.S. has a vested interest in the outcome of this dispute, and its actions could either help to mediate the conflict or exacerbate it further. Finally, we will examine the potential pathways to resolve this dispute and prevent further escalation. Diplomatic negotiations, international mediation, and economic incentives will all be considered as possible solutions to this complex and multifaceted issue. The goal is to find a way forward that benefits not just China and Canada, but the global economy as a whole. China's decision to impose a 100% tariff on certain Canadian goods is a direct response to Canada's earlier trade actions. Beijing views these tariffs as retaliatory measures against what it perceives as unfair trade practices by Ottawa. The Chinese government has accused Canada of discriminating against its businesses and harming its economic interests. The tariffs target several key Canadian exports, including agricultural products like rapeseed oil, oil cakes, and peas. Additionally, China imposed a 25% tariff on Canadian aquatic products and pork. These sectors were chosen strategically to inflict maximum economic pain on Canada while minimizing the impact on Chinese consumers.
To understand China's actions, we must rewind to Canada's initial move that triggered this trade war. In October 2024, Canada imposed its own set of tariffs on Chinese imports. These tariffs primarily targeted Chinese electric vehicles, steel, and aluminum products. The Canadian government argued that these measures were necessary to protect domestic industries from unfair competition. Canada claimed that Chinese companies benefit from government subsidies and other forms of support, giving them an unfair advantage in the global marketplace. The tariffs were also intended to align Canada's trade policies with those of its allies, such as the United States and the European Union, who have implemented similar measures against China.
The escalating trade dispute between China and Canada is not an isolated incident. It is symptomatic of a broader trend of rising protectionism and trade tensions worldwide. Countries are increasingly turning inwards, prioritizing their own economic interests over international cooperation. This trend is driven by a complex interplay of factors, including domestic political pressures, economic anxieties, and geopolitical rivalries. The rise of populism and nationalism has fueled anti-globalization sentiments in many countries. Governments are under pressure to protect domestic jobs and industries from foreign competition. Additionally, the COVID-19 pandemic exposed the vulnerabilities of global supply chains, leading some countries to pursue greater self-sufficiency.
Section 5. The U.S. factor fueling the fire.
The United States, under the leadership of various administrations, has played a significant role in fueling global trade tensions.
The U.S. has imposed tariffs on goods from several countries, including China, Canada, Mexico, and the European Union.
These actions have disrupted global trade flows and created uncertainty in the international economic system.
The U.S.-China trade war in particular has had a profound impact on the global economy.
The two economic giants have engaged in tit-for-tat tariffs, impacting billions of dollars worth of goods.
This trade war has had spillover effects on other countries, including Canada, which are caught in the crossfire. Section 6. Economic fallout, the price of protectionism. The escalating trade tensions and protectionist measures come at a cost. These policies, while intended to protect domestic industries, often have unintended consequences that ripple through the global economy. Tariffs and other trade barriers increase the price of imported goods, harming consumers and businesses. When the cost of raw materials and finished products rises, companies face higher production costs, which can lead to reduced profit margins and even layoffs.
When countries impose tariffs, they aim to make foreign goods less competitive compared to domestic products. However, this strategy can backfire. It often leads to retaliatory measures from trading partners, who impose their own tariffs in response. This tit-for-tat escalation can severely disrupt international trade, creating a vicious cycle of escalating trade barriers. As each side raises the stakes, the economic environment becomes increasingly hostile, making it difficult for businesses to plan for the future. This can ultimately harm global economic growth and prosperity. The uncertainty and instability caused by trade wars can lead to reduced investment and slower economic development worldwide.
The trade war between China and Canada is already having a negative impact on both economies. The ongoing conflict has strained relations and created an atmosphere of economic uncertainty. Canadian businesses that rely on exports to China are facing significant challenges, including reduced demand and increased costs. This has led to a decline in revenue and, in some cases, job losses, as are Chinese businesses that depend on Canadian imports. The disruption in supply chains has made it difficult for these companies to maintain their operations and meet consumer demand. The tariffs are also contributing to inflation, as businesses pass on the increased costs to consumers. This results in higher prices for everyday goods and services. Consumers ultimately bear the brunt of these policies, facing higher prices at the checkout counter. The economic strain is felt across all sectors, highlighting the far-reaching consequences of protectionism. Section 7. Political implications, strained relations. Beyond the economic consequences, the trade war between China and Canada has also strained diplomatic relations between the two countries. The ongoing conflict has led to a series of diplomatic spats, with both nations engaging in a war of words and actions that have only deepened the divide. This tension is not just limited to the political arena but has also trickled down to affect businesses and citizens on both sides.
The exchange of tariffs and accusations has created an atmosphere of mistrust and hostility. Protests have erupted in various cities, with citizens expressing their dissatisfaction with the ongoing trade policies. Political leaders from both countries have been seen arguing publicly, further showcasing the strained relations. This makes it more difficult to address other areas of disagreement or cooperation. Failed negotiation meetings have become a common sight, and the strained business relations are evident in the declining trade volumes and increased barriers to entry for businesses looking to operate in either country.
The trade dispute has also complicated Canada's relationship with the United States. While the U.S. remains a crucial ally and trading partner, the ripple effects of the Canada-China trade war have made negotiations with the U.S. more complex. Issues that were once straightforward are now entangled with the broader geopolitical tensions. While Canada and the U.S. share close economic ties and are members of the USMCA trade agreement, the current climate has introduced new challenges. The USMCA, which was designed to facilitate smoother trade relations, is now being tested as both countries navigate the fallout from the Canada-China trade war. Canada is also seeking to diversify its trading partners and reduce its reliance on the U.S. This strategy involves forging new alliances and strengthening existing ones with other countries. However, this is easier said than done, as the global trade environment is fraught with its own set of challenges and uncertainties. The trade war with China puts Canada in a difficult position, forcing it to carefully navigate its international relationships. The stakes are high, and the outcomes of these negotiations will have long-lasting impacts on Canada's economic landscape, as it tries to balance its interests with those of its largest trading partner. The delicate act of balancing these interests requires diplomatic finesse and strategic planning, as any misstep could have significant repercussions for Canada's future.
Section 8. The path forward. dialogue and cooperation. The escalating trade war between China and Canada is detrimental to both countries and the global economy. The path forward requires a de-escalation of tensions and a return to dialogue.
Both sides need to engage in constructive negotiations to address their concerns and find mutually acceptable solutions. International institutions such as the World Trade Organization can play a vital role in facilitating dialogue and mediating disputes. A rules-based trading system is essential for ensuring fair competition and preventing protectionism.
Section 9. Conclusion, a call for open markets. The trade war between China and Canada is a stark reminder of the importance of open markets and international cooperation. Protectionism and trade wars are a lose-lose proposition, harming businesses, consumers, and the global economy. The world needs a renewed commitment to free and fair trade based on rules and cooperation. This requires countries to resist the temptation of protectionism and instead work together to address the challenges facing the global trading system. By embracing open markets and dialogue, we can create a more prosperous and stable world for all.